Hello, human geographers. We are back at it again this evening. Tonight, we're going to examine the intersection between cities and globalization. So let's dive right in by defining the most important concept for tonight's lecture: a world city. A world city is one of a small number of interconnected, internationally dominant centers at the top of the global hierarchy. Examples include New York, London, Tokyo. These are not necessarily the world's biggest cities in terms of population or industrial output, but rather they are centers of strategic control of the world economy. These cities are also called global cities, and as both names suggest, they're not just important in their own country or region, but across the entire world. As industrialization progressed and world trade made countries more connected and interdependent, certain cities rose to the top of the hierarchy and became the command and control centers of the global economy, which is the defining feature of world cities: their influence over the global economy, rather than just purely their population size. So let's look at some examples, shall we? The most commonly cited world cities are New York, London, and Tokyo. But Paris, Hong Kong, Singapore, and Los Angeles, among others, are very influential and near the top of the Global Cities Index. The Global Cities Index, which ranks not just how influential a city is presently, but also their outlook for the future. They utilize 5 metrics to rank these cities, including business activity, human capital, information exchange, cultural experience, and political engagement. So again, these aren't necessarily the biggest cities, though New York and Tokyo have reached megacity or even metacity status, but population isn't the determining factor here. It's their influence. So take a look at the 25 cities that are represented here on our chart. What patterns do you notice? Are there any surprises? Cities that you thought would be more or less influential, but apparently rank where they do. And when we come back to class, we're going to look at the most up-to-date data regarding the Global Cities Index. So let's spend a little time talking about some of the general characteristics that these global cities tend to exhibit. World cities are going to be the major centers of communication, banking, and finance that transcend national boundaries. They're where major financial institutions like stock exchanges and investment firms tend to cluster. These will strengthen connections with multinational corporations, who tend to locate their headquarters in world cities, as do media companies. Companies like JP Morgan Chase and Citigroup are headquartered in New York. London is home to the British Broadcasting Corporation, or BBC, while Tokyo is home to many multinational corporations, including Mitsubishi. And it's not uncommon for companies to have regional headquarters as well. And where are those regional headquarters going to locate? World cities. For example, McDonald's headquarters is in Chicago, but they also have one in London. And Mitsubishi's North American headquarters? You'd find it in New York City. It's not uncommon for global cities to be the seats of national governments as well, though that isn't a requirement. Both London and Tokyo, as well as Paris, Beijing, and Washington, D.C., are national capitals as well as prominent world cities. World cities also tend to be the centers of globalized culture. Los Angeles, Tokyo, and London are often associated with popular culture like movies, television, and music. Paris and New York are seats of high fashion. Both London and New York are known for their prominent theater districts. Many world cities have prominent universities and world-class museums, art galleries, and concert halls. Even global events like the Olympics or World's Fair have traditionally been held in world cities. All these characteristics led these cities to have an impact beyond their national borders. In fact, many urban studies experts believe that world cities may replace independent states as the key players in the global economy. So, why do these world cities matter? As our world becomes increasingly globalized, it is world cities that are driving that globalization. So the corporations that headquartered in world cities are increasingly linked to other cities in other countries. And financial decisions made by those corporations will ripple across the world in a hierarchical fashion, with world cities seeing the benefits and feeling the impacts fastest. As a result, world cities exhibit a spatial concentration of wealth, as many of the richest people tend to live in world cities. So let's take a look at our map. Let's start with, what type of map is this? You're right, it's a graduated symbol or proportional circle map. Many of the world's millionaires are disproportionately located in major urban areas, especially world cities. This in turn can lead to greater social stratification between the richest and poorest in an urban area. Due to the strong universities and concentration of wealth, world cities tend to be centers of innovation with new ideas, goods, and services that can be produced and traded utilizing the efficient transportation and communication systems that define our increasingly globalized world. World cities also represent political integration as well. World cities are often the choice for headquarters for supranational organizations. The United Nations General Assembly that you see here is located in New York City, while its educational, scientific, and cultural organization called UNESCO is headquartered in Paris, and the World Health Organization is located in Geneva, Switzerland. The cultural practices that rise to prominence in world cities, whether that is music or fast food or clothing, often diffuse to become global trends. So notice that these world cities and their global influence reach across the entire spectrum of ESPNDC. And that will lead us into our conversation back in class. Have a good evening, everyone.